As Lisa noted, I manage the Wayback Machine here, so that means if the box of flashy lights over there, if that goes down, you can blame me. So I want to talk a little bit today about a library, in particular this library, the Internet Archive, in a time of war. I also do want to first say that I met Aaron a few times, and back at Internet Archive events over in the Presidio, he intimidated me with his intellect and his productivity, and I'm just reflecting on that, what I could learn from that, how we can take the time, how I can take the time to learn from others, to share experiences with others, and to create, to co-create with others in the time that we have here. But for right now, so the context is that on February 22nd of this year, Russia invaded Ukraine. That was 8 months, 2 weeks, and 6 days ago. In recent days, it's been estimated that more than 100,000 Ukrainians and 100,000 Russians have been murdered as a result of these actions. And when this went down, many of us, and myself included, asked ourselves, and are asking ourselves today probably, what can we do in our capacity? So I work for a library here at the Internet Archive, so I thought, what could I do at the Internet Archive? So I noted that I thought that truth is the first casualty of war. This is an article from the BBC yesterday noting that you're in Russia and you're doing searches about the war, you're not getting the whole story. It may be obvious, but we live in a very splintered world. The ecosystem of information has many walls and barriers in it. So what can we do as a library? And first of all, what is a library? A library collects information, it preserves information, it lends it makes it available to other people. It collaborates with other organizations and individuals. And then in addition, I think it accentuates some of the qualities of information and material, like how it can be accessed, how it can be discovered, and how it can be used, and how the library can help make the material more easily used, more useful. So very quickly, I'm going to review some of the programs that we are running here at the Internet Archive, many in collaboration with others, about Russian, Ukrainian, Belarusian television, independent radio, Russian and Ukrainian news sites, websites in general, certain platforms, in particular Telegram and VK, a project that has to do with Russian independent media, the Archive It program here at the Internet Archive, Russian and Ukrainian Wikipedia language editions, and then a very special project called Sucho, Saving Ukrainian Cultural Heritage Online. So when the war started, I remember I was driving and I was listening to Fox News and listening to Tucker Carlson, and I said to myself, I have a choice. I can listen to Tucker Carlson if I choose to. I wonder what people in Russia are listening to right now. And despite the fact that I work here in this Temple for Knowledge Information, I couldn't answer that question. You know, right, boom, like now, what are they listening to now? And so I started poking around, and I reached out to other people, and collaborated with Tracy, who's here. I was going to be speaking in a little bit. And within a few days, we began archiving 4 Russian television channels. These are state-run television. All news in Russia is state-run at this time. The logos of them are at the very top. Russia 1, Russia 24, Channel 1, not to be confused with Russia 1, and then NTV. In addition, we began archiving Belarusian television and Ukrainian, the main Ukrainian news channel, Espresso. This is what the television news archive at the Internet Archive looks like. We've been archiving dozens of news channels for the better part of 10 years, and because of the magic of closed caption, which is required in the United States, we can do this nice treatment where we have text below, thumbnails. The text can be full text and full text indexed, and we can aid discovery. That's not true for the Russian television. There's no closed caption, so that immediately presented a problem of discovery. How can one find what's there without having to laboriously scan through the material? And even then, the material is in Russian, and I don't know about the rest of you, but I don't speak Russian. So we teamed up with GDELT project. GDELT is the Global Database of Environment, Language, and Tone, an individual named Caliph. And Caliph put together this television, this visual explorer. And you see thumbnails on the left every 4 seconds with text on the right. Don't worry, you're not supposed to be reading this text. That's there to be indexed. If I clicked on one of those thumbnails, I would pull up an image that then could turn into a player and unite the Russian text right below. Okay, so this is the fun part of the program where I try to do a demo. So wish us all luck here. There we go. So far, so good. Is that on the screen? Excellent. I'm going to pull up a random. So you're listening now, or I am at least, to the Russian. And below it, I see Russian text, right? But because of the magic of the way the Google and Chrome work, I can translate that into English. Boom. So now that Russian text is in English. So I've gone from Russian television audio to English text, which of course can then be indexed to aid in discovery. And the browser will remember my setting, and as I flip through one segment after another, advancing to the next 5 or 4 seconds, the translation follows there as well. All right, the demo worked, and the translation worked. So here's just a recap. We wrote a blog post about this. Caliph wrote a blog post about this at blog.archive.org. I want to put a plug in for blog.archive.org. If you want to keep track and up to date on what we're doing here at the Internet Archive, that is probably the single best way to do that. Since then, and frankly on a daily basis, if you go to gdel.project.org, then you can see blog posts by Caliph of new experiments that he is doing using this material, including things like having shows compared side by side, doing a search based on clips of images, doing a recognition of logos, etc. So we think of one of our ideas here at the Internet Archive is TV as data. And to make this material more accessible to people so that they can get information from it and make use of it. And so here's one very practical application. This is an article in the Washington Post by Philip Bupp. And this article was about how Tucker Carlson was featured on Russian television explaining how the Nordic pipeline was probably blown up by the Americans. The article contained something like 13 specific clips drawn directly from the Internet Archive's TV archive. Next, TV Rain. So TV Rain is the only independent television channel in Russia. It was started 12 years ago, and it started out as the positive channel. Over the years, it evolved into a channel that often was at odds with the Putin administration, and most certainly the war. And it's probably no surprise that when the war broke out, the channel was shut down. The channel was shut down. The staff fled the country. And I got a phone call shortly after the war started by someone saying, there's this archive of TV Rain that's physically in Russia, and it doesn't exist anywhere else. Can you help get this thing out and online? So I'll make a very long story short and say that right now in this building, those hard drives exist. Those 7 hard drives represent the archive, the 12-year archive of TV Rain, and we are. Those, that people took risks to get those hard drives here. I'm just going to say, and I'm grateful that happened, and we're doing our responsible part, reading from those drives. We're uploading approximately 800 shows per day right now. We've uploaded more than 63,000 of the shows to the news archive. But this is what it looks like when it comes into our system. Like, oh, 65,000, great. It's growing every day. You can see the thumbnails there and some metadata you could clip in, but it's not really easy to search or discover yet because we haven't done the transcription or the translation. And I should note the transcription we're doing right now, and what you saw earlier is we're leveraging Google's automatic speech recognition systems on the back end. So I'm sure many of you have heard about OpenAI's Whisper. That's another system that is currently being used to transcribe information from audio into text. We have some pretty large-scale experiments going on with Whisper as well, and doing comparisons with that. And Google, right now, Google is winning, at least for this particular data set, so that's what we're using, but we're agnostic about all this, and in the future we'll probably offer options. Right now, you can see this is TV Rain in the interface of the TV News Archive without any captions, and here it is in the Visual Explorer, which is once again showing thumbnails every 4 seconds. So at least one can skim through hours of television in seconds and minutes and do a visual exploration and search for what one might be looking for. In the next probably 2 weeks or less, this will be enhanced with all of the text associated with all of this with television. And then recently, the TV Rain folks launched TV Rain Newsroom, which is in English, and they're putting out a show every 2 or 3 days. And of course, we're archiving that because we don't want to be in the position again of there being a channel shut down somewhere in the world where the only archive is being held in a country with laws that are making it unavailable elsewhere. And I just kind of put that out there as like to, hindsight's 20/20, but lots of copies keep stuff safe. Okay, Echo of Moscow. Unfortunately, another story like that. I got a phone call one day saying, hey, we've got this archive of the independent radio station in Moscow living on an American server, and our Russian credit cards don't work anymore. Can you help? So, of course, we helped, and in addition to ensuring that the material didn't go away there, it's now all living here, probably on those machines in the back of the room here, or behind the walls, or other of the physical archives of the Internet Archive, and we're going to take good care of them. We're working now on building better interfaces to make this material more accessible. And I want to note that this is very clearly, I'm not just telling you all this to say, here's what we've done. I'm sharing this information to say, this is some stuff we've done so far. I think we've really only begun to scratch the surface. It's a collaborative effort, and we can use help, lots of help. So if anyone here thinks they can help or knows other people that can help in any one of a variety of ways, please reach out to me. I am simply mark@archive.org, and my email address will be at the end of this presentation. Okay, I'm going to switch over to the web now and speed things up a little bit. I just start with this general notion. If you see something, save something. In 2014, an aircraft was shot down over Ukraine, and a Russian separatist posted this on VK, claiming credit for shooting down the aircraft. And here's a translation of that, and they say, they warned not to fly our sky. Here's a video confirmation of the bird fall. The bird fell behind, blah, blah, blah. This was captured in the Wayback Machine several times, actually, by different people over the course of a few hours, and then it was taken down off of VK. Years later now, because of investigations that have gone on, it's been pretty much confirmed that this person who posted this was in fact the main person behind a shooting down of that particular airplane, and it was archived in the Wayback Machine, the evidence of that, his claim that he had done that. So that's kind of like, why we do what we do, and part of that is we don't know what it is that we're going to save that might be of critical importance at some point in the future for any one of a number of reasons. So to that end, we began archiving Ukrainian news and Russian news, 300 and 900 news sites respectively, drawn on a database that we built 3 years ago where we basically aggregated 10 of the large lists of all of the news sites in the world. So like many of these were like, here's the big list of all the news sites in the world. And we got a lot of them, but we put them all together and deduped them. It came up with a really big list of news sites in the world, 170,000 actually, and we broke them down by country. And so we use that to seed our effort to archive from Ukrainian and Russian news sites every 24 hours. Then we turned to another partner of ours, a domains index, and they make lists of websites around the world basically, and they gave us their updated list of domains in Ukraine and in Russia. 3 million Ukrainian and 24 million Russian sites, and we began archiving them. Just a little quick note about how quickly things can get out of control. This is an illustration of how, starting with one seed URL, in this case CNN.com on June 17th, 2021, and then archiving all of the embeds, so all of the JavaScript, the CSS, all of the elements that make up that page, all those individual URLs, 338 of them. And then archiving the 174 links on that page and all of the associated embeds on all of those links, one URL blossoms into 31,772 URLs. So when we do this archiving, we go wide and we go deep, and it takes a lot of effort. Altogether, we're importing approximately 20,000 URLs a second into the Wayback Machine, including services that you wouldn't necessarily think of as, oh, that's the web. Because this web thing continues to evolve, and but we continue to evolve with it. And so Telegram is a key messaging platform and channel that's widely used within Russia, within Ukraine, Belarus, Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, etc. So we recognized early on that we needed to begin archiving public Telegram channels. I want to emphasize here that, generally speaking, that's what we do here at the Internet Archive. We archive publicly available information. So we had to work with identify at first, and then work with domain experts and write custom code to begin going in and archiving Telegram. And as of yesterday, we had archived 22 billion Telegram URLs, which is quite a lot, actually. I guess we're doing about 100 and some million of them a day. VK, once again, VK is that site you saw earlier that the individual who shot down the jetliner had posted to. VK is kind of like the Facebook of Russia. And it's like Facebook, it's a little difficult to archive. Like a lot of these large platforms, one of the first challenges is to say, well, what's there? How do you even know what URLs you should try to be archiving, and at what frequency, and how do you discover new ones, etc. So we worked with actually a Russian exile who had domain expertise, and have an active program underway right now archiving VK. This is one area in particular where we could use the help of some more Russian-speaking people to help us do a better job. And this is another little example. I wanted to try to hit a few things, like, what we're doing, how we're doing what we're doing, and why we're doing what we're doing. You might remember this story. It was a few months ago where these two journalists who had worked for Lenta.ru, they got out of Russia. They had their IDs and passwords into the Lenta.ru publishing platform. They published more than 20 articles against the war. on that platform. And those articles are up for a few minutes or a small number of hours before, of course, they were taken down, but not before every one of them had been archived into the Wayback Machine many times in some cases. And then because of that, Medusa, which is that's an independent Russian language news service, was able to not just write an article to say, hey, this happened, but in their article, they included links to every one of the Wayback Machine archived versions of these anti-war articles that have been written by these brave journalists. A few months ago, we teamed up with PEN America, and Bard College on a project called Saving Russian Independent Media. It has a few goals, one of which is to help preserve important Russian independent media. Another one is to create a platform for discussion in this space, and also to support Russian independent media writ large. We started out with about 60 Russian language independent media sites, some of which are actually not online anymore, and began archiving them on a daily basis in at least 2 different ways. So we've archived more than 140 million URLs so far as part of this project. And then this is an example where we're trying to say, okay, what more can we do? Archiving this stuff is great. We're preserving it. But how can we enhance, going back to the things that libraries do, right? Collect, preserve, lend, collaborate. How can we make this material more easily discoverable so that people can effectively lend it and maybe even collaborate with others on it? So we took, in this case, 4.6 million articles, 4.6 million web pages, and did a full text index of them. So you can now do a search on 4.6 million articles in Russian from this collection. And this is pretty unique. I mean, you can't go into Google News and do a search for Russian independent media. There's just no filter for that. But with a system like this, you can do that. If any of you want to try this at home, just go to the bottom of web.archive.org, and there's a whole section called Collection Search. We have 15 collections that we built in the last few months, and the Russian independent media is one of them. Here at the Internet Archive, we have several different departments doing different things. One of them is called Archive It. Archive It is a program-related business activity of the nonprofit Internet Archive. We have close to 1,000 partners. These are museums and governments and libraries that pay us money to work with them to do web archiving, often, well, in every single case, about very specific kinds of topic areas. And many of them spun up projects related to the war, and I don't have time to go through them all, but just suffice to know that many dozens of the partners of the Archive It program are doing that. We recognize that Wikipedia is obviously crucially important to help inform people on what's true and important in the world, and that URLs and other links in Wikipedia sites were especially fragile in the face of the war. That many sites were going to go down, in some cases because maybe the servers were going to be in buildings that were being blown up or lines that were being cut. So we proactively went into the Ukrainian and Russian Wikipedia language editions and added 2.7 million links to the Russian and 1.8 million links to the Ukrainian Wikipedia site, so that in addition to the live web URLs, there are Wayback Machine URLs as well. And what does that look like? This is the Russian Wikipedia page about Easter Island, and if you go down to and you click on a certain citation, you can see the Wayback Machine archive of that particular cited reference. And a quick segue here to talk about the fragility of Wikipedia overall and what we've been doing for the better part of 10 years. We've been, first of all, archiving every URL added to every Wikipedia language edition, 320 different Wikipedia sites, and scanning them Right now we've edited 269 of these Wikipedia sites, scanning them, looking for broken links. When we find the broken links, we check in the Wayback Machine and other archives and try to fix those links. And as of yesterday, we had fixed 15,525,237 otherwise links that you would have gotten a 404 on. Yes, that's what those numbers are there. I'm almost finished. Okay, we're a library, right? So what else do we do? Well, we collect books, lots of books, something like 3,000 books a day we acquire and digitize and make available through archive.org. So we decided to try to help accelerate our acquisition of books that were cited in the Ukrainian Wikipedia language edition, and we put this call out on our blog.archive.org site, which all of you, I'm sure, have been following since I told you about it 20 minutes ago. One of the sister nonprofits of the Internet Archive owns a bookstore, one of the world's largest used bookstore, Better World Books. And we basically create wish lists of books that are cited in Wikipedia articles or included in syllabi of colleges and university courses, and then we pull those off of the conveyor belts so they can be prioritized, digitized, and then we can add links to digital versions of them from Wikipedia articles. And in addition to that, we've accelerated our effort to add links to the Wikipedia citations of the Ukrainian Wikipedia site. And then finally, saving Ukrainian cultural heritage online. I was sitting at my desk one day and I saw this message, and I think it was on Twitter, and this woman named Quim Dombrowski, a librarian down at Stanford, said, hey, we're having this Zoom meeting in 1 hour to talk about how we can collaborate to archive Ukrainian cultural online heritage. And so I'm like, okay, I'm there. And jumped on the Zoom meeting. There was, I don't know, 15 or 20 people. And within 2 weeks, there were 1,000 volunteers that were being extraordinarily organized by Quinn and some of the other co-founders to identify digital material that was at risk and marshaling the resources using a variety of services and technologies to digitize and preserve it. And here's a quick overview of some of the participating technology services and platforms and partners that Sucho teamed up with. Here's a quick look at a small piece of a Google Sheet that was being used to organize what was going to be archived, who was going to be archiving, what technology was going to be used, at what cadence, etc. So it was a pretty high-lift effort by the librarians behind this project. It resulted in many different outputs, one of which is this collection at archive.org of items, and then in addition, many, many, many millions of archived pages on the Wayback Machine. And then now people are beginning to do interesting things. This is a Sucho meme wall that was recently created. This is quite extensive. And I think a few weeks ago, we had Joan Donovan here on stage talking about her new book, Meme Wars. Joan, as some of you know, is a noted researcher in mis and disinformation. And I think when we look back at this war and try to understand how the heck did this happen? I mean, how could it be that a nation of Russia could go to war with a 70% approval rating of their president and attack their neighbor? We're going to begin to understand the depth and power of social media and state television and other means of communications, and we'll find that among many other things, the memes, the ideas that were generated very creatively and artistically and amplified and programmatically spread in a viral fashion was a very big part of what happened. And I want to close the. I think so it was said that the war plans. No war plan survives the first time it faces the enemy. This was an article that was written by the Russian state media about how they were declaring victory. This was posted on Russian state media a few days into the war. Clearly, it wasn't the way things went, but this is how Russia planned things to go. I don't know what I might have done differently. 6 months ago if I have known what I know now, where things have gone. But I do stand here and I ask myself, and I ask all of you to ask yourselves what you might do today, knowing now what you know, and thinking about what may come to pass. And I invite all of us to work together to do what we can do to help preserve the times of our lives. Thank you.
Would anyone like to ask a question of Mark about all this incredible stuff? Any questions? No? Okay. One from Brewster.
What was that number of URLs that are archived every second?
You don't want to know that number?
I need to know what that number is.
20,000.
Whoa. Okay.
20,000-ish.
Don't give a talk when your boss is in the room.
See what happens? All right, great. We have another question.
I think it's amazing that you've gone to the effort to make it searchable with text. That, in my own researching of things, that's the most difficult part is consuming enough video to kind of make inferences. I was curious if you had a plan for continuing to update the audio to text, because I know it's pretty accurate now, but over time we might need to update that so it becomes more accurate. Do you have a plan for that?
Oh yeah, I mean, the plan is it's all a work in progress, and we will continually update and run the process again as new technology becomes available, and there's a benefit that might be realized by doing so. Sure, yeah, absolutely. Right, Tracy?
Hey. Right.
Thank you.
Tracy, the next speaker could address that as well. All right, everybody, let's give Mark a big round of applause. Thank you so much.